Hi and welcome back to my channel. I'm Michelle if you're new here. Today I'm going to be sharing with y'all what we eat in a week. We are a large family of 10 and I've recently been inspired by early 19th century books, one of them being Farmer Boy, which is a book about Almanzo, who was married to Laura Ingalls. And like I said, some of the recipes were inspired by that book, and also it's just been inspiring me to cook more and to play around and have a lot more sweets in the house, because in the book it seemed like every time they shared a meal they had a ton of sweets. And so I just want to put some of that stuff into practice in my own home and give my children treats whenever we eat dinner. So let's just jump straight into what we eat in a week. For the first meal that we made, I made whole wheat sourdough. Then I made some fried onions with bacon and apples, and that's a recipe that I actually read from Farmer Boy about Almanzo from Little House on the Prairie. I cooked some green beans and put butter and served it with this sourdough bread along with some ground beef. Now, I'm not sure if you're aware, but in early 20th century, they already had yeast for your bread to rise like we do in the local grocery stores, where you just add a pack of yeast and your wet ingredients and mix it with the dry ingredients, and then in like 30 minutes to an hour you can have a loaf of bread. This was a really good recipe. I did enjoy the fried onions, bacon, and apples. It was really good, but it was also different, and so the combination and the look of the mixture doesn't seem like something that you would normally or naturally eat. However, I do think I will be cooking this again. Now, on Almanzo's dinner table, it was very common to have sweets and preserves, so I let my children have some preserves with the bread. This next meal I'm going to share with y'all was really good. It was salmon cakes, and all I had to do was saute some bell peppers and some onions and then mix that with some can of salmon. If you can get fresh salmon, even better, but where I am, you cannot really get fresh salmon without any extra added ingredients, or where the salmon had been fed artificial red dyes. Anyways, I sauteed up my veggies and then I added that to the salmon along with some flour and some salt, onion powder, and garlic powder. I'll post a link to this recipe down in the description. And I just mixed that, and then I formed my patties and I put them into my cast iron skillet and fried both sides. And this is how they look when they are done cooking, this amazing golden brown. And then I served that with a salad. The lettuce is grown in my garden, and right now I do have to source the tomatoes and the cucumbers and anything else I put in there. And then I made a homemade vinaigrette to put on it. It was super delicious, along with strawberries. I had some extra sourdough discard that I needed to use, so I decided to use a recipe making some sourdough English muffins. Now, these are really good, and they're also healthy too, because the sourdough starter is still fermented. I didn't add any extra flour. I had made this the night before, and then I went ahead and turned them into English muffins. And then I made these earlier in the day, knowing that in the evening I was going to turn these into some pizza bites, and they turned out really good. This next recipe I made was chicken pot pie. And it was really interesting because I had been craving chicken pot pie the night before and just thought about it. And no, I'm not pregnant, but I woke up the next morning and realized I had everything on hand to be able to make chicken pot pie. Some of the stuff was pre-made, like the chicken and the potatoes. They were already in the refrigerator, so this was really easy to throw together. Some of my family is gluten-free, and so when I make meals like this that are going to be a larger meal, I tend to just make the meal gluten-free. And so this recipe is using almond flour and arrowroot flour. And it's very similar to making regular chicken pot pie, as if you were making it with flour. You still have to saute your veggies, let them simmer for a little bit till they're tender, and then you have to add some broth or water to have a liquid in there, and then a thickener, which I used arrowroot again. And you can put spices or whatever you want to into the pot, and then you make your dough and roll it out and put it on top. Now I chose to use my big pot for this that I can put in the oven, and I use this basically because it holds a lot more food than a regular pie pan, and we are a large family. Once all the ingredients simmer together for a little bit and the potatoes are warm and the chicken's warmed up, I made the crust for the top, and then I just rolled it out using parchment paper. And a really cool trick I learned recently was that you crumble the paper so that it doesn't roll in on itself, and then you lay it out and it lays flat. Now, since gluten-free dough doesn't have as much elasticity as wheat dough, it's a lot harder to get it to lay in the pan because you can't just roll it up without it cracking and breaking. And so I basically flip it into the pan, and I had a little whoopsie, but it still turned out good. I was able to maneuver it and make it lay nice enough to cover the top of the pot pie, and it turned out wonderful. And I don't know if you've noticed by now, but I got different amounts of footage for each meal that we ate. And this one, I managed to not get much of it, but what I did get was that we made some sourdough corn cakes, and then we fried up some of our bacon from a pig that we raised here on the farm using organic feed only, along with some of our scraps. And then we scrambled up some eggs, and that was what we put together for this meal. For this dinner, I wanted to experiment on making some really soft burger buns, and I found the perfect recipe for these. These were pillow soft, moist, amazing burger buns, and that's exactly what we had, was some burgers with fries and some cheese, and it was so good. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you're new here, and click the bell so you get notifications of every time I post new videos. I'll see y'all next time. Bye.